Hi guys. Okay, first off, I did it. I had no idea if I'd be able to even figure out how to use this equipment and get live, but apparently it worked. So, welcome. I'm Jihan. I'm kind of calling now Living Fierce with Jihan. It might be The World According to Jihan. I have no idea how this is going to evolve, but I knew that I needed to just start somewhere and start doing something. Um, you know, I've had a private practice for a long time in coaching and in natural methods, natural medicine. I run a club, Living Fierce Club, where there's lots of people in there, great community that we have, and I have one of the largest oils team in the world with Young Living, and so I work with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and there's been this general theme that I've been hearing throughout this time, and that is of sadness, loneliness. Loneliness is a big one. A loss of hope, feeling hopeless, feeling helpless even. I'm hearing this stuff and it makes me sad. It's like, what has happened to us? And maybe it's always been there and I'm just noticing it right now. I don't know about you guys, but what is happening to our society, and what do we do to help bring back some hope, bring back some positivity, bring back some peace of mind? Like, what is it going to take for us to kind of, come back together? And the more I'm speaking with people, it really, for me, it always comes to community. Like, what kind of community do you have, and do you feel supported within that community, even when things aren't going well? Because you have people out there who are just like, always be great. You should always be great, and gratitude and positive and whatever. And that's not really life. And to always be promoting that, it's nice. But I think it takes some people and sinks them back into a hole of despair, because that's not how they feel their reality. So this will evolve. I don't know where this is going. I'm getting to understand my equipment and all this stuff. But what I do know is that I care more about the content and what I'm bringing forward to you guys. And that is to be able to have open discussions, for you to feel that you have a place to land. You can ask questions. As of now, I'm going to come on here weekly. If there's more demand, or if I evolve more, then maybe I'll do it more often. Hi Cheryl, good to see you here. I see you on here, and you could go into the comments. I can see the comments, so if you have any questions as I go through some things, then fabulous. But I just wanted to be clear about my intention, and that I tend to also bring out tools. So it's not one of those like, okay, I hear you, and this is all that's happening, which I love. Listen, I always say I wish I could hug the world, right? I just want to help make everything better for everyone, and myself included. God knows I go through my own stuff, because we're all human, and we do. Even this right here, I've been asked to do this. I teach often, but I teach privately in my club mostly, and in my oils group. And I have been asked to be more public about my teaching so people could share it. And, I'm not going to do exactly what I do in the club, because that's reserved for our members. But it took me a while just to say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be, another voice within this as well. And for people that might be resonating with that. But I'll tell you, I went through my own, I don't even want to do this. I don't want to press live. What am I going to talk about? Who would care? And I say this to you because if you go through this in whatever it is that you do, if you go through this and think that, maybe your words don't matter, or what what you do doesn't matter, your words don't matter, who you are, there is a community out there for you. There are people that are looking for you, and maybe it's just not the correct circle that you're in the moment. So I just wanted to bring that out also. So again, hope, peace of mind, positivity, and basically living fear. So I use an oil. I'm going to always talk about oils too, because it's what I do. We're going to go a little further into it. I'm sure throughout my talking about this, but even a little bit today. I put on Gathering. Well, I put on a lot of oils, but I put on some Gathering today. I don't know if y'all could see Gathering here. I put on Gathering, and Gary Young created this. He said, and I love this, he said, the purpose of this is to bring people into a state of collective thinking. Now, I think there's a lot of collective thinking. I mean, we're witnessing it, right? There's a lot of collective thinking that's not necessarily positive either, right? So we know that. But there's collective thinking that we could bring together that is positive. And when you have the collective thinking, I'm trying to think of how to bring this out because I know the study that was done. So there was a study that was done, or several studies at this point, and they found out that the square root of 1% of a population could override the negative of the population, basically, or anything else that's going on. They tested this in areas that were where there was a lot of violence, cities with violence, even in countries. So they tested this out, and they found that the formula is the square root of 1%. So I guess what I'm saying is that when we collectively think in a positive way, we could override the negative aspects, even if there's a lot more of the negative aspects. The positive could override the negative. And for me, I think that's really good news, right? Now, how do you maintain positive thoughts all the time? The answer is you don't. You don't, and that's ridiculous. And if you think that you're supposed to, or if you feel like a failure when you're not able to do that, then there's a whole other issue that's going on. And I want to absolve you of this perfection that you're supposed to be this constantly enlightened being that is only, love and light and all that stuff. That's just nonsensical. So you're going to see that as I'm talking, you're going to get a dose of maybe bluntness here, because I see a lot of people who beat themselves up over things that are goals that are unattainable. And that is being in a constant state of positivity is utterly ridiculous. You can't be in a constant state. We are in a human experience. We're supposed to go through the range of human emotions, and you will go through the range of human emotions. But how you're able to manage them, that can make all the difference. So that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that when we put it all together, we're always supposed to be positive all the time, because that's not realistic. But how you respond to it is. So when I talk about oils, and again, like Gary said, bringing people into a state of collective thinking, that overall, if we could control our thoughts and control our emotions, and that's easier to do when you do have certain routines and when you're around certain people, okay? When you're able to control that, you could put out into the universe collectively, out into the world collectively something more positive. It doesn't just have to be on you. But it starts with you. It starts with each one of us, right? It starts with each of us committing to shifting a little bit, shifting our habits, shifting routine, because that's what it's going to take, shifting habits, shifting routine, so that we can line up better with that which we want to see out in the world, because you're going to attract more and you're going to expand what it is you focus on. So we're going to be careful about what we focus on. So Gary said, gathering stimulates the mind to focus and collect thoughts, and it helps to filter through the chaotic bombardment and misinformation. And God knows we are constantly being bombarded with information, and sometimes, of course, lots of times, misinformation. So this helps with that. Now, this is, of course, done with intention when he creates it. It's not like you're going to take this and that's it. You put those filters on and you're never going to hear bad news anymore. That's not that. But it helps to shift your vibration to align with a different field of information. We'll say that, and I'll explain that further as we go through. Maybe I'll explain that further now. So, well, as we go through this, I'll talk about it, because I want to talk about more on what to focus on, or how to get focused on different things. Because I think that's one of the biggest problems, is that people don't know where to focus their attention, or how to shift their attention. And sometimes they try to do it just with their thoughts alone. But let's say you've been through a trauma and you just can't shift your thoughts from that trauma. It's insensitive for anyone to suggest you should be, by the way. So I just want to also absolve you of that. Like, it's insensitive. If you've been through a trauma, it's while uncomfortable, it's okay to experience that trauma and everything that goes with it, the anger, the hurt, the grief, whatever you're experiencing, that's okay. That's normal for that, okay? And so you're supposed to have normal human emotion. However, there are some tools, like I said, that you could utilize. I work within food, movement, mindset, community, and nature. And that's inclusive of things like music. Well, it's definitely inclusive of music, so I should probably put that on there. But basically shifting your energy and aligning with that which you prefer. So now, why do I use all of these? And it's inclusive of essential oils too, by the way. Plants in general, life in general, animals in general, just life, right? Where you're at in your life right now, what you see around you is a result of what you've aligned with up to this point, okay? Everything could be measured in, well, almost everything could be measured in frequency. So let's just say you were to, is in a different example, let's say you wanted channel 4 on your TV and you set your remote for channel 4, right? You sent out the frequency of channel 4 from your remote, and what you got back was channel 4 from your TV. Okay, that's because those frequency aligned. You would not expect to put out channel 4 and you get back channel 12, right? You would expect that channel 4 and you get back channel 4. But let's say you wanted channel 12. You would have to take a different action, right? You'd have to go back to your remote and put it on channel 12. You'd have to take a different action to align with that frequency. When you are in channel 4 and everything around you represents channel 4, and you don't take an action to switch it to channel 12 or whatever else you want, you will remain in channel 4. No matter what you do, you will remain there. So you will always be aligned with that information field. That's why sometimes people feel as though they are on just this spinning wheel and nothing ever changes for them. Because they probably are. That's the truth of it. They probably are. They're not doing anything in their routine that's going to, or in their habits, that's going to shift into a different state of energy. There are some people out there that say the only way you could do that are with your thoughts. I disagree with that. That is not the only way that you could do that, okay? You could do that through many different methods, of which I will just touch upon right now, and maybe we'll expand on them further, but we certainly expand on them in the club, in Living Fierce Club. But just as an example, let's say with food, you want to change your frequency. You could use food to do that. Oh my gosh, look at this thing on the screen. I don't know if you all see it, but there was this little like guy on the screen running. I don't know what that was. This is what I'm saying. I'm getting used to this equipment and this program or whatever. But let's say you wanted to shift something. You could shift in food, for instance. So if you typically eat very processed foods, you start changing over to more living foods. And when you do that, or just even eliminating the processed foods, or before eliminating it, just start incorporating more living foods. Start eating more fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, whatever it is. You know, if you are a meat eater, having more, you know, grass-fed, whatever the healthy version of that is, you know, when you start to shift just even in that, you will feel better. You will shift, okay? So you could shift your food and you will shift. Now, let's say food feels too hard, right? You know you should do that, but food feels too hard. Okay, so you don't start with food. And thoughts feel too hard because you're in a state of trauma, so how can you possibly change your thoughts? Fine. Thoughts are too hard, so we're not going to do those yet either. Although you can train your brain, but I'll tell you about that in a moment. So from there, you go into movement. Let's say you're not moving at all, right? Or let's say you're moving all the time. We'll start with not moving at all. Let's say you're not moving at all. A lot of people think if they're not moving at all, that they're going to have to go into some major, you know, exercise routine. And that's not true. I tell people, you don't even get off the couch. Your first thing is going to be to get off the couch. Start doing, I don't know, 200 steps a day, whatever it is, if you track steps. If you don't track steps, then, you know, walk out to your mailbox and back. Walk down to the end of your street and back. You know, apply it to whatever area you live in. But just make a goal that's very achievable so that you can have these small incremental steps so that you can get to where you're going. Or where you want to go. And then you add on those. But just shifting that routine will start to shift now how your mind is. And then you could shift your thoughts. So it doesn't always have to start with thoughts. Okay? Same thing happens with food. Let's say you can't do food. Well, how about this? Drink more water. Right? You could do that. Drink more water and remove any of the process. Like if you drink soda, or if you drink a lot of alcohol, if you drink, I don't know, whatever, junky food, junky drinks, beverages, just go to water. And if you say, I don't like water, start getting used to water. Maybe that's the very thing that you need. Put some oils in it. Flavor it up if you want to. But start drinking more water and you could see a shift. Your body needs water, by the way. Needs. It's the second most fundamental need of your body. We'll talk about that too. Okay, third thing is mindset. Now, how do you shift your mindset, right? How do you shift a mindset when it feels like, again, you're in a state of trauma and you're supposed to just sit there and be like, don't think about this trauma. It's ridiculous to think that you could do it in that moment. And I really get, I'll euphemize this, discouraged by people out there, coaches out there, that will say, no, that's what you have to do. And they'll get on here and they'll be very emphatic about it. And they'll tell you, and then you get off listening to this and you're like, okay, I'm like a loser because I can't seem to be able to do that. The reason being it's totally unrealistic. So just get off of that. And by the way, they're all lying. Okay? And bless everyone out there for what you do. But if you're one of those coaches that tells everyone just get your mindset straight and be everything positive at all times, you are lying. Okay? Because 25 years in practice tells me that's bullshit. Okay? Bullshit. I was born, I swear it's genetic, that I tend to have a very positive mental attitude and outlook on life, and I could shift things very quickly. But if I was going to tell you and sit here and lie to you and tell you that I didn't have dark days or dark moments or whatever, it would literally just be a lie, okay? We're human. We go through, unless you're a psychopath, you're going through the emotions. That's it, okay? So again, it's unrealistic to think you're not supposed to have that, and you're not doing anything wrong if you have hard times, okay? However, you could shift your response to it, and you could shift the way you see things. And that does take work. It feels unfortunate it takes work, but it does. And the work is in the shift of the routine. So I told you about food, I told you about movement. Now mindset, you could train your brain to believe. And you do that by visualization. Okay, and even writing things out. When you write things out and put them there and then repeat it over and over again, even when you don't believe it in the beginning, and you start to visualize something else, that will start to shift things. But it's not something that normally happens for people, just like snap your fingers on a dime, unless you're really practiced at it. So I want you to think of it like that you're just practicing. Everything we're talking about, you're practicing. You're not supposed to be really great at it right away. You're practicing what you're doing. Okay, so even with mindset, practice it. Write down things of what you prefer. Build out a visualization of it. When you're feeling okay, build out a visualization. So when you need to pull upon that, when you're not feeling so okay, you're able to pull upon that, okay? And use that as your visualization or as your mindset work. Community. So food, movement, mindset, community. Community is probably the most important thing for me, and I think it is for humans in general, that we have an enormous need for community, and know that we are with like-minded people that also could challenge us, but that we have that community of support where we're not being constantly judged, where you have unconditional love, unconditional support, where you're surrounded by people who could, lift you up. This is, for me, so much of what my oils group does, and especially what the club, Living Fierce Club, does. Even for me personally, it's just a general feel of lifting each other up and supporting each other. But you don't need to be in that. I hope this community, what we're going to build here in this, whatever you're going to call this, video podcast, whatever this thing is, that we're going to do the same thing, that we could build out a community of support where you have something solid you could tap into, and I'm going to be cheering for you, and the rest of the people are going to be cheering for you as well. In whatever it is you want to do. I hope that this is a place you feel that you could land and feel safe, knowing that you have people around you that no matter what your thoughts or beliefs or your religion or your color or your gender or whatever the things are right now, it's all okay. It's all okay, because you get to be the human you want to be, so it's all okay. And that you have a safe place, again, to land. Okay? Community is really important. Whether it's here or whether you're doing it in your personal life, which I hope you're doing also, not just online, really focusing on nourishing those relationships and nourishing yourself. People say you become the 5 people that you hang out with the most. And so really audit your circle. And I think that's true. You should audit your circle, but you shouldn't just be auditing other people. I think you should be auditing who you are in that circle. And that's something I really take into consideration. Who am I in somebody else's circle? And I take that as a responsibility, and not to be the jerk of the circle, right? Just to make sure that I'm contributing in a way that's valuable to the people I interact with. And I do this all the time. I don't want to be the jerk human. I want to be the one that could be compassionate, that could listen to other thoughts, that could be exposed to new ideas, that could get curious about things, and also could disagree. And have it be all okay. If every time you get into a disagreement with someone, that's the catastrophic end to a relationship, although I think some relationships should end, but if it's catastrophic and dramatic and all that stuff, I think that's when, again, you have to reevaluate all the people in your circle. And you could have such a response like that. And the next thing is nature. So food movement, mindset, community, nature. Nature inclusive of essential oils and plants and the earth itself and the ocean and the streams and the rocks and the crystals and whatever else that God put on this beautiful earth to support us. And with that, I believe we should also be taking care of our planet. I think we live here. We should be honoring of it and taking care of it, not destroying it. essential oils have been huge in my life for a long time. So I was first exposed to using them in 1999, and they make such a big difference in my life. I mean, you could see even back here. I mean, I got cabinets. I'm like backwards, so I have to look at this. But I have cabinets full of, oils back here and all over the place. And I mean, you can see one of my cats back here for people that get, concerned about that. My cats are here. My animals my dog love the oils, and I don't know how I would personally navigate life without the oils at this point. Going back to that change of frequency, you could take oils that contain their own frequency. You could use these oils and allow it to align yourself somewhere else. I mean, if you are using, again, lots of synthetic things in your home and around you and on your body, whether it's lotions or products or smells or candles, whatever, you're aligning with that frequency that is keeping you in a place that you may not want to be in. So when I'm saying about shifting things, shift things. Look around you. Anything that you could shift. Clean up a part of your house. Rearrange your furniture. I don't know. I mean, anything that you could shift is shifting. That's what I'm trying to say. You have tools right there. And sometimes just having a little bit of fire like that under you could make all the difference in how you're feeling in general and how you're feeling about life in general. So for me, it's a lot of use of essential oils. I diffuse them. You can see my Himalayan salt lamp. I have this on all the time. There's something so peaceful about it to me. I have them on all the time. Like I said, diffusing oils. I go out into the earth. I'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about farming. I'll have guests on, by the way. We're going to talk about, I live in the suburbs, but I have a suburban food forest. So, which is obviously winter, so it's not really doing much right now, but I have that. And just even getting in the earth, in the soil. I am the tree hugger. I want to be in the trees. I want to be in the forest. I want to be hiking. I live by the ocean. And while I don't love the sand, to be able to sit there and look at the power of the ocean, I mean, you can't mistake it. If you just get silent and pay attention for just even a few moments, you see all this strength, all this power around you. And I just use my vision to imagine it infusing into me, and being able to utilize it then to bring something better to the world. Again, constantly using my imagination. Hi guys, I see Gigi on here and Linda. Thank you. Deborah too. Hi. I still have no idea who this little guy is on here. I don't know if you all see it on the feed, but something keeps jumping on my feed. This weird looking, zombie looking guy. So I don't know if you see that, but I'm going to talk about a couple of other things. Last things in this. One of them being what our needs are. What are the order of our needs? Because I like to break things down really simplistically, okay? So air, water, food, okay? In that order. Those are the most basic. These are the fundamentals here. Air, water, food. You could only go a few minutes, couple minutes without air. Most people, okay? Could only go a couple minutes without air until things start breaking down, and then obviously within a few minutes you die. That's how important air is. So don't you think then, if it's that important, that the quality of the air also might make a difference? The quality of your breath, breathing in general, making sure you're breathing deeply, that you're imagining your breath and oxygen reaching every one of your trillions of cells. Again, if we could just get a little more quiet and have some stillness, you'll realize that you have really awesome, very free tools all around you. Focus on your breathing, getting quiet, just again, visualizing it, illuminating the oxygen, getting into every cell and illuminating you. Next thing is water. So we could go a few days without water and that's it, right? Before, again, organ breakdown and we die. So only a few days without water. So if it's only a few days, don't you think it's really important to maybe consider the quality of the water as well? Right? So think about how water would show up in nature, how it's moving, how it's running, how it's naturally filtered through the soil and the rocks and all that stuff, and start thinking about the quality of your water. Maybe you want to get some water filters in your home. Or not. Maybe you just don't drink water at all and you need to start drinking water. That's something else to think about also. your body only recognizes water and the liquids from your foods. Everything else that's processed is a deviation. And your body responds to that with little bits of inflammation. Nothing that necessarily shows up on blood work, although it could, right? But little bits of inflammation. When you have inflammation, inflammation's damaging to the body. When you have inflammation over time, it's really damaging. And that's when you start to see disease or dis-ease. That's what comes later. But what most people don't realize is there's nothing sudden about it. This is something that happened over time. And it's a really easy fix. Your body is designed to heal itself, and it wants to heal. You have to give it the conditions to do so. Water is one of the most major conditions. Air, water, right? These are the most major conditions to do so. So focus on water, not just liquid, okay? Because unless it's, of course, vegetable or from, the food you're eating that naturally contain water. But I'm talking about literally having water. Okay, there's things you might have in your life. Some people I see, there's like this big culture right now. I'm sure you've noticed that, a big culture of coffee and a big culture of alcohol right now. Alcohol probably has always been here, but coffee, it's like there's like, especially the last decade or so, there's this huge culture around it. Well, both alcohol and coffee are dehydrating. And over time, while they may make you feel good in the moment, over time, it can make you feel terrible. It could give you a lot of pain. It could change the way your mind's working. You have inflammation that's going on. Alcohol wrecks the flora, the microbiome. So a lot of people don't think of it. They say, well, I only had one, or I only have it once a week. And that's okay. I'm not telling anyone what to do, drinking or not drinking. These are things I just want you to think about and how it could be impacting your life. So that would be one of the things to think about. Just get more water in. Add more before you take out. And the last thing is food. I'm not going into a whole thing about food now, but it's just to be considerate of the food you're eating. And I would say the whole foods, the whole unprocessed foods versus the ultra processed foods. Try to swing as much as possible into the whole unprocessed foods as much as possible. And that alone will make you feel better. It'll make you look better. It is literally anti-aging. So consider that in your when you're trying to shift yourself and shift your energy. And I'm going to finish with, because I didn't want this to go on forever, and goodness knows I could talk forever, which is why I'm doing this to begin with. In our quest to always do more and be better, which is, I'm part of that quest, by the way, I have to continually remind myself that I am loved and that I am enough. Because if I let my mind run away, and this is my moment, probably one of several moments of honesty, if I let my mind run away, I will wonder what I'm even here for. Do I even make a difference? Do I bring value anywhere? And I think a lot of people go through that and maybe don't admit it so much, but you try to figure out what your place is in this world. And I've talked to a lot of people about it. So I know I'm not the only one in this. I know a lot of people think this way as well. But I have to continually remind myself even that, that I can bring value, even if it's to a small audience or a huge audience or one other person that just needed to hear that. Whatever it is, that I have a place. And I know that every single one of you, God would not have created us, or whatever your belief system is. You're going to hear me say God, because that is my belief system. God would not have created us without purpose, without reason. And I also have to remind myself that I don't always have to be searching for that reason. Me just doing me well and just trying to be more generous and loving and compassionate and all that. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's my role. Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe my role is God gave me a gift of talking. I'll tell you that. And I'm not uncomfortable speaking. So, I'm uncomfortable going live, but once I get into things, I'm like, good. I could just go on and on and on. I have a lot of thoughts at all times that I want to be able to share, and I want to find community. And maybe this is part of it. Maybe it's going to be this, group of us that expands from here, and this is what people are looking for, or maybe not. Maybe not at all. But I know that you are loved. I know that you are enough, even when you want to do more and be more. And that's okay. That's great to be ambitious. I think ambition and desire keeps that fire in us, keeps us feeling hopeful. So that's good. But I would say stay focused on that part of the journey and not the destination of it. We always hear, focus on the journey, not the destination. And I don't want to be so cliche in that, but I have to remind myself of that same thing, is that it's really focusing on the moment, being very present. And while I do have certain goals and ambitions, and it keeps me motivated and inspired, that being right in this moment and helping in the way I know I can right now is what I should be focusing on, and then allowing things to grow beyond that. So you are loved, you are enough, I am loved, I am enough, and to me, that's what living fierce is. So thanks for joining me today. I'll be back next week at 1 o'clock Eastern time. I will correct that on the graphic so people know that it's Eastern. Please share this if you think it's valuable information. Share it with people, and also have people join in live on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time. All right. Take care, guys.